Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Market Down Podcast. My name is Nick Cummings, joined this week by James Gisante. Would like to wish everybody a happy St. Patrick's Week as we head into the news and notes from the past week of wrestling. And we start with the news that came out, I think it was the day of this recording, which is Wednesday, or it could have been yesterday. My days are getting a little screwy. But the formerly known as the Bella Twins will now be going by their real names as the Garcia Twins. They announced this on their social media platforms as they are seeming to step away from WWE and go into their own spotlight, so to speak. Obviously, everyone has immediately started speculating that they were going to go to AEW, although I believe it was Nikki who came out and said in a video that they would not be, but we'll see. I don't think anybody believes that. But I think this is an interesting move, James, and it's one that makes sense for them. It's not so much as a rebrand as, say, Mercedes Moné, as they're switching to their real names instead of their, into a different character. But I think it presents a lot new opportunities for them. Obviously, they've been getting more and more work in other aspects on things like E-Network and such as hosts of certain things. And obviously Nikki is married to, I think she's married to a guy from Dancing with the Stars, right?
Yeah,
so
Artem.
So she's been in the public spotlight for a while now, along with their old reality shows that were WWE based. But I think this is a smart move for them, and it allows them to brand themselves as themselves instead of their WWE characters.
Absolutely. Look, there is money in the Bella name. They were so popular, they did get their own show on E, So it's a little bittersweet, I'm sure, if for Brianna and Nicole. And it's going to be an adjustment for people who don't know the Garcia Twins. But I do think that Brie and Nikki have created a strong enough brand for themselves that their followers will follow them and they will keep up with them, name or not, brand name or not. So good for them. I think you hit the nail on the head before. I think you said freedom, the freedom that they're going to have now. And they're absolutely going to, look, as far as AEW goes, I'll be honest, I don't know that I see them signing. Maybe they'll do like special appearance type stuff, but I do think that their wrestling days are probably behind them. Nikki due to injury, Brie because of, both of them are mothers now, but I think Brie has sort of settled into being a businesswoman / mom. And I don't know if she wants to get back in the ring, at least not full time. But the notion of Brie and the kids maybe getting involved in a Brian story, that's fun. If Brian wins something big and they're there to celebrate, I like that they'll have that freedom to do it. And if they do get in the ring, I could say freely, without guilt, I think Nikki Bella, Nicole Garcia, developed into a very strong wrestler by the end of her run. She probably wasn't going to be winning many technical awards, but she developed an in-ring style and a character that really worked for her. And it's a shame that it got cut short due to medical issues. But if she were to come back to the ring, I would gladly accept it. I would gladly watch it. And I am excited for both of their future. They have been involved in wrestling far longer than I would have put a number on. And they deserve happiness. They deserve success. And they've earned a lot of it, if not all of it.
Yeah, I don't see them coming back to the ring either. Like outside, you said like special appearances or something. Their injury history, especially Nikki's, is too long. And like you said, with both of them being mothers, I don't think at this point in their lives that's something they may be willing to risk. Obviously, I'm speculating here. I don't know these people, but that seems to be their trajectory, or at least their public-facing thoughts since they have moved away from WWE and only really come back for, say, a couple of the women's Royal Rumbles. So, and that makes sense. Nikki, obviously, she changed her style after her initial neck injury. I saw people making jokes about, I think it was Misawa, and she kind of went with a lot more of his style with forearm strikes, just because she couldn't do certain moves like the rack attack because of her neck.
Yeah.
So also one of the best and worst named moves ever.
Oh, that she knew exactly what she was doing.
Yeah, and I love it, but it's so bad, but it's so good. But she, she was moving away from those moves and towards others, and it made sense. And I think it gave her a few more years. And you could see towards the end there, as the 4 horsewomen came up from NXT, she wasn't completely lost in the ring with
Absolutely
those 4,
not.
as they were probably, the 4 best at the time coming into WWE. So yeah, it would be cool to see them. Obviously, there's a lot of speculation right now in AEW with the Outsiders and how they would be the cherry on top of that feud, but especially with Blood and Guts, because the 2 of them makes 5, and it appears on Dynamite the other night that we might have 5 women. And for the AEW side of things, we'll see. It's still very early, but I just don't see them coming back, especially for a match as tough and as vicious as that one.
I agree.
And like I said, they do have a lot of other opportunities. I think at least Nikki, maybe both of them were involved in a show on USA Network.
Barmageddon.
Yes, Barmageddon. Thank you. It had a lot of WWE superstars on it. Hilariously, Sasha Banks was on it, but she was already gone by the time the episode aired. But she was Sasha Banks instead of Mercedes Moné or Renato. But they've been doing that, and they've been getting themselves into the public eye that isn't just WWE related, whether it be in the ring or in their 2 reality shows that they started on E. So I wouldn't be surprised if they chose to. They could possibly pick up another reality show if that's something they want to continue to do. I think both of them will continue to get hosting gigs, whether it's stuff like Barmageddon, or maybe they're on a red carpet somewhere for like Access Hollywood or one of those shows. Those seem to be the venues that are open to them that they could possibly take. So I'm interested to see where they go. I think, like I said, they have a lot of good business opportunities ahead of them. And, for people who are fans of them, in the ring, yeah, I do think that time is done. But for people who are fans of them out of the ring, I think there's a lot more ahead of them, and then therefore a lot more ahead for you as you watch them.
I also do want to take a moment to acknowledge the impact that they did have on women's wrestling. I know that, the Bella Twins can be often associated with some of the harsher aspects of like the Diva era. But many people, many women in the locker room today, many women in the locker room they shared with, a lot of people backstage acknowledge just how big an advocate the Bellas, the Garcias were for women's wrestling.
I mean, they started Give Divas a Chance, right? The hashtag, I believe it was them.
And they still today, they are always hyping up the women on the roster. Whenever there's a big women's match, they make sure to promote it. They make sure to give it attention. And I think that needs to be acknowledged and respected, because again, maybe what they represent on screen isn't necessarily what fans wanted from women's wrestling. I know Brie got a lot of flack for her in-ring work, especially when she kept coming back. And I know Nikki has her haters too. But at the end of the day, we've talked about it many times on the podcast. We love women's wrestling on the podcast here. And I think a lot of what we see today being so promoted, so highlighted, so focused on, is thanks to a lot of the work, dedication, and care that the Bellas put in.
Yeah, and I think, people forget you do need a bad guy in this situation to help build up the division, and they were the bad guys, the 2 of them and the beautiful Alicia Fox. So when Becky, Charlotte, and Sasha all came up, like, they had somebody to go against. I know Sasha ended up with Team Bad, and Charlotte and Becky ended up with Paige, and we had those faction wars for a while, which was cool. But they were the main bad guys. So, and it worked. They were the relics of the past, so to speak, things that we didn't want to see anymore. Now, and like I said, they ended up holding their own in terms of the in-ring stuff. So they helped not only in that way, but just like you said, advocating for the women's division in general, and they continue to do so. They call out WWE when it's bad, and they especially recently all the time, and they promote things that are good. So, either way, they gave me Deke Stokes, so I'm forever indebted to them.
God. Typical man taking a women's contribution and making it about the boyfriend.
No, I'm saying that they gave him to me. That wasn't their idea, but if they don't have that reality show, I don't get Deke Stokes, and I'm very sad because that is still the greatest thing John Cena has ever done. You can't prove me wrong. Maybe the Marine.
God.
I like the Marine.
I like the Marine too, but in a world with Peacemaker, I won't even joke about it.
No, the Marine 2 was awful. Actually, who was it? Was that the Randy Orton one?
No, because Randy was supposed to be the Marine, and then it didn't happen because there was the backlash about him going AWOL as a soldier.
Oh, so he was in there. Who was the second Marine? Because there's a second one, and I forget who's in it.
I really think it's Ted DiBiase.
Is it Junior?
I really think it's. I'm going to look it up now.
Dean Ambrose is in the third one.
Oof.
And
how weird is that?
I didn't hate that movie.
I'm not saying it's bad. How weird is it that Dean Ambrose was in a movie?
Yeah, Dean Ambrose being a cop, nonetheless. Now I gotta wait for you. Now and then obviously the Marine franchise just belongs to the Miz. And the one time Becky Lynch and Shawn Michaels showed up for whatever reason.
Yep, I was right. It's Ted DiBiase Jr. And holy shit, the people in this movie.
Oh God, I want a list.
Michael Rooker and Tamora Morrison.
Wow. It's weird, like people there are famous people in these movies.
Yeah, Robert Patrick was in the first one.
Oh yeah, know what I'm thinking of? No, I'm confusing 12 Rounds and
the
Marine. Also a solid movie because Littlefinger's in 12 Rounds. I forget his real name, but the guy who plays Littlefinger from Game of Thrones, he's the bad guy in 12 Rounds.
Yeah. Dude, Jared Kiso is in the Marine 3.
Oh, because that's what I was gonna say. I fucked up because it's Dean is in whatever, because Randy's in 12 Rounds 2, and then Dean's in 12 Rounds 3. I think it's 13 rounds and 14 rounds. So I saw the tail end of the second 12 rounds with Randy. The Dean one's actually good at 13 rounds. He's trapped in a police department. He's the last cop in there. And gets taken over, and he only has 13 bullets. That's why it's called 13 rounds. It's very clever.
I can't believe Shorzy got to act with the Miz.
Yeah, I forget. Yeah, he's in a bunch of weird stuff before he's in Letterkenny and then subsequently Shorzy.
Let's see who's in the Marine 4.
You Riley.
Marine 4 brought in big time actor. You ready?
Yeah.
Summer Rae.
Nice.
Marine 5. Maurice and Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel.
Yeah, they put them all in there because that was when they were all together on screen. It was great.
And Marine 6 was Sean and Becky.
Yeah.
Man.
Great run there for The Miz.
Yeah, seriously. 3, 4, 5, and 6. He got 4 movies.
Now, honestly, if we're going to talk about shite WWE movies, and remember, we don't go on tangents.
We do not go on tangents.
There was the one where Dolph Ziggler's the cop, and he's backstage at the WWE event.
And he super kicks somebody.
I think Rusev holds a gun on him.
Yep. What a world. Those movies.
All right.
What a world.
We got to move on here. So let us stick with WWE as we move back into the ring here, where we have a report from Sean Ross Sapp that Bray Wyatt is out indefinitely due to an undisclosed physical issue. Now, obviously, we don't know what that is. It's undisclosed. But Sapp did report that earlier, quote-unquote, rumors that Bray was out due to creative issues through WrestleMania were untrue, as he hadn't been able to confirm any of that. But this obviously leaves a pretty big gap here, James, as we head into WrestleMania. We don't know what Bray's plans are now, if he'll even be able to compete. And it also kind of leaves Bobby Lashley up in the air, as that appears to be where they were headed as they go into the greatest show of them all.
If it's true that this is due to health issues, I wish Bray a speedy recovery. Terrible timing. It really sucks. If it's because of the rumored creative issues, I am just so ready for him to I was always whatever about his return. I was happy for him because he got fired and he didn't deserve to get fired. But I'm good. I if it's due to the creative problems that it seems to be, or at least it's rumored to be, if I never get Bray again, I'll be fine.
Those rumors seem to be unsubstantiated. So.
And that's fair. But how did he get injured?
We don't know. It's been undisclosed.
That's my point. And I mean, look, God forbid it. I pray it's not actually a health issue. You know, I'd almost rather it be a creative issue, so he's okay. But I don't know. There's always something with Bray. I hope he's okay. I really do. But at this point, I care more about finding out about Bobby Lashley's WrestleMania plan.
Yeah. It really does leave Bobby in limbo here. Like, obviously, this was the plan, and now we're what? How many weeks out from WrestleMania? 3?
Less.
And yeah, and I know, and he doesn't really have anything. So it really sucks for him. Although I have seen a lot of people joking that he has avoided this.
Yeah.
So I mean,
yeah, right.
I guess it depends on his personal preference. We don't know that, but I think a lot of fans are kind of, I don't want to say excited at the fact that that's not happening, but they seem to be okay with the fact that that's not happening. As for Bray, yeah, this sucks. I like Bray. I feel like, you know, obviously he's a very creative guy, and I always want to see what he's doing, even though some of it perhaps lately has been a little more missed than hit, at least in my opinion. So, but I do like seeing what he could do. I love watching Bray wrestle. Bray is phenomenal in the ring, and I feel like between the Fiend and whatever that glow stick match was and all this other stuff, we forgot how good Bray is. Like, dude can go.
Mm-hmm.
So it really sucks. I don't know what this issue is, obviously. Like I said, it's undisclosed. I hope it's not too serious. Last time I heard an undisclosed issue, I'm pretty sure Ioannis Cespedes got like attacked by a wild boar and ended up like breaking his ankle in a hole, running away. I still don't know the actual story to that because lol Mets, but it was something like really weird like that. And the story didn't come out for like a year and a half. I'm actually wrong. I'm pretty sure it's not that, but like that's what we all believed for like a whole season. So when I hear
boar?
Yeah, it was like a wild boar, like a wild pig or something.
How did anybody come to that conclusion?
Because no one knew what happened, and then like a rumor floated out that like a wild pig like ran at him, and he was running and then like stepped in a hole and like snapped his ankle. There was another one like maybe he fell off his horse. Like I don't remember, but my thing is when you hear undisclosed injury, it creates this rumor mill. But then it also leads me to believe that it is bad and more than likely happened outside of the ring, probably doing something he wasn't supposed to do. Not necessarily, well, like if you get attacked by a wild pig, it's not your fault. But, you know, it can lead to that sort of speculation. So I think it would, in my personal opinion, I think it would behoove WWE to kind of announce what happened here.
I think they're taking
if they can.
Yeah, I think they're taking a wait and see approach. On the flip side of it, this makes you think it could be serious. It could be that it's minor and they just want to wait it out. They don't know. And I don't blame them for just wildly reporting something without the proper time having passed. So let's see. I wish Bray well. I hope for his sake he comes back for his WrestleMania moment. But otherwise, wait and see, I guess.
I'm now trying to find this Cespedes thing.
God.
All it says on Wikipedia is that he fractured his right ankle on his ranch.
Maybe it was a boar.
So, yeah, I would have to like look it up. But no, honestly, look it up. It's whatever it was really, really funny. But that's what it was. Like all the ridiculous stuff surrounding him at the time was he got attacked. And
random. I love it.
The moment was he got attacked by a boar. He stepped in a hole and fractured his ankle or he fell off his horse. And then I think the whole thing and the boar thing or pig thing got like merged into one. And then no one ever really found out until a couple of years later.
Jesus.
What is with me and Mets injuries today? God.
You're having a rough one.
I know. For those of you who don't know, the World Baseball Classic is going on, and Puerto Rico over here won against the Dominicans to advance and knock the Dominican Republic team out. And Mets closer, $100 million closer, fucking got the 3-out save, was celebrating, not hard, with his brother and his teammates, and just ruined his knee. And we don't know what the injury is yet, and I'm in a glass case of emotion. So I'm truly powering through here.
From one New Yorker to another, I hope everything works out.
Thank you. Still beating the playoffs. All right, let's go to one last story here, and that involves James is flipping me off so you guys can't see it. That actually involves AEW, as they announced this past week that they will be having a tour of Canada during the month of July, and that actually starts in June with the AEW and New Japan pay-per-view Forbidden Door, which will be taking place in Scotiabank Center in Toronto. The tour also then includes 3 Dynamites and 3 Rampage. 2 of them will be together. The other ones will be separate. And a House Rules show in Calgary as part of Calgary's, like one of the Calgary's celebrations. So, James, we discussed last week about WWE starting to do some more international shows as they announced a show in Puerto Rico. So that's I get depressed again. But now we see WWE starting to expand a little bit more into Canada and dip their toe into the international waters, so to speak, as well.
Yeah, I'm very happy to see AEW expanding. I'm very happy to see AEW in different markets. It keeps the crowds lively. It keeps the crowds energized and excited. So that's always a good thing. And wrestling belongs to the world. It doesn't belong to any one state, country, or anything. So I'm glad that AEW's reach is expanding. A little weird that Forbidden Door 2 is in Canada, you know? A little weird. Feel like should have been Japan, probably.
Yeah, a lot of people have been saying that, and I can understand why, obviously, with New Japan being the other company throwing this show, for lack of a better phrase. But the time difference, I can see it being a bit of a bugaboo. God, that's such a weird word, but it's a good one. A bit of a bugaboo for AEW, being that the show probably wouldn't go on till like probably 3 o'clock in the morning here on the East Coast. So I could see that being, you know, a bit of a weird one for them. Now, I'm more surprised, but in that case, perhaps it wasn't held in something like California, which I think would make a lot more sense.
Yeah.
You know, obviously they just held Revolution there, AEW did. So, and New Japan is also having their show with Impact there as well next month. So that would make sense to me, or at least just the West Coast in general. It doesn't necessarily have to be California, but hey, look, I'm excited for Toronto. Toronto's a great crowd. We've seen that, you know, in the past, especially
many times,
especially at WrestleMania X8. But except the main event, but that wasn't their fault. They booked that show completely wrong.
It was Triple H's fault. He wanted to go on last.
Yeah, and he absolutely shouldn't have. I
learned a lesson there.
I've watched that Rock Hogan match so many times.
Yep.
And not even
classic
for the match,
as classic gets.
For the crowd. I only watch for the crowd. I don't care about the match. But that's my point. That crowd is so good. And I think it's not just Toronto's crowd, but all of Canada's crowds are good. I think our neighbors to the north are going to get a lot of good stuff as AEW tours around up there. I'm excited for them.
No, I am too. I'm a little bummed because I would have loved to be able to go to Forbidden Door too. I guess it's still a possibility, but I don't know if I can go to Canada so many times in a year, eh? Yeah. Go for it. I know you want to.
Well, I was gonna say I've seen some stuff. Oh, you wanted me to do the accent there, eh?
Yeah, I thought you were going to.
Oh, I could do it if you'd like me to.
Thank you.
But I've seen some people, you know, fantasy booking a little bit, saying perhaps maybe with, you know, unfortunately the Forbidden Door is before the shows, otherwise this would have worked perfectly. But perhaps maybe we see the Owen Hart tournament leading into Forbidden Door, and they have the finals there, and you can
That would be
include some
cool.
New Japan talent in this. Perhaps
That-
maybe even if Impact wants to sprinkle some people in, you could do it as well, since New Japan has a working relationship with them, and AEW has obviously worked with them in the past. I think that would be really cool. You know?
I'd be all for that. When the first Forbidden Door happened, AEW was in a really rough place with their wrestlers. A lot of their guys were hurt, were not
Everyone was
around.
hurt.
everyone. God willing, everyone is healthy this time. Everyone is around this time. No one is suspended. No one is gone.
No stage diving.
No stage diving. And this Forbidden Door could potentially have Kenny Omega wrestling against a Japanese talent. You could have the Young Bucks wrestling Japanese talent. You could have Bryan Danielson versus Zack Sabre Jr.
God,
you know? So I have high hopes, and I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to all of Canada.
Yeah. I just kind of thought of this. It'd be pretty cool if a returning Chris Statlander won the Owen. I know she's not Canadian. She's from Andromeda, but I think they would definitely cheer for her. But also too, it'd be pretty cool if she won that and then went on the challenge Jade and beat her. Since it's only a couple months away, Jade losing the title in August actually makes a lot of sense to me.
I would be all for that. And I know it's unlikely at this point. I'm still holding out hope that we might see Impact get involved or Ring of Honor get involved. Ring of Honor, there's a better chance.
Ring of Honor will be involved, but I would imagine in some way, shape, or form, since the roster between them and AEW is fairly fluid. But Impact would be really cool. And I was just also thinking too, like, just to stick on the women's side, maybe we see Mercedes Moné, as we have the IWGP Women's Championship. If that gets defended, that would be amazing.
From your lips to God's ears.
If not, maybe we get Kairi.
Yeah, Kairi would be great.
It's very early, and I know we're discussing more of the matches now of Forbidden Door as we get hyped for that, instead of the initial point of this conversation, which was the fact that AEW is running some Canadian shows, which again is dope. But we're hyped, dude.
Hell yeah.
We're hyped. So get hyped to there too, Canadians.
I don't get hype. We stay hyped.
Whoa. You know it. And on that note, that about wraps things up for us here at the Market Down Podcast. I would like to thank everybody so much for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe. You can catch weekly shows here on our channel, along with Danny's Fast Forwards on Monday, where he reviews Raw. And then we have our lives after AEW Dynamite every week. And Impact of Honor working title on Thursdays after Impact goes off the air. James will be reviewing both Ring of Honor and Impact. Also, be sure to check out all of our social media channels, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, all in the description below. As I say every week, go check out the Instagram. Danny puts a lot of good memes there. And during the pay-per-views, you can follow us along on Twitter, as I tend to live tweet the shows. So for James Gisante, my name is Nick Cummings. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you here next time on the Market Down Podcast. Have a good one, everyone, and Slanta.